Okay, welcome back. This is part two of my talk. So, just to recap, on part one, we looked at going into our bodies and accessing our responses, our physiology, and our responses to that stress. So, in other words, when you have negative thought, where do you feel it in your body? How does it make you feel? And how do you respond and react to that? What is your stress coping mechanism, in other words? Okay, so we spoke about also how you go to the doctors when you are start to have unexplained pain and maybe you get medicated, and that's the quick fix, and it is a short-term fix, and we're not getting to the root cause of the problem. So we were saying how life alignment gets to the root cause of the problem. So I said I would share some stories with you. So I'm going to share one particular story with you. As a teacher, I have taught in a few countries, one of them being Mauritius, where I was going there 2 or 3 times a year to teach. And one of the, let's say, I won't say challenges, but it was like something that I was really passionate about, was getting this message across to doctors. And so I invited a doctor to come and have a session with me. And I said to him, "What is your intention for this session? What do you want to work on?" And he said, "Well, I have some stress as far as my business is concerned because I'm starting a new healing center, and it's finding the right staff and putting the whole thing together is quite stressful." So I said, "Okay, well, let's see, what comes up, because we work with the body's highest agenda as opposed to the mind. So we work with what the body tells us is the most important priority for that session, not what you think is the most important priority. But still doesn't mean to say you can't set an intention for the session. It may come up somewhere, or otherwise it's going to show you where that pattern is playing out in your life." So anyway, his session did touch a little bit on his business, but then we had a second priority. And that second priority had nothing to do with his business. It was a personal issue, and it was something to do with his daughter. His daughter had fallen in love with someone that he didn't approve of because it was outside of his religious beliefs. And he was a Muslim who prayed 5 times a day and was very much against this marriage. So it was so bad, I think, that it had estranged his relationship with his daughter. So the story was going back to a period that was 5 years prior, and this was the beginning of the problems that he started to have with his daughter. So he told me the whole story. Now, what he didn't tell me is that this story had caused him, obviously, a lot of grief and a lot of pain. And this grief and this pain played out as physical pain in his body. But he forgot to tell me that, because he had been living with this pain for 5 years, every single day for 5 years. Being a medical doctor, he had tried everything that he knew to medicate himself for the pain, but nothing worked. And he also tried acupuncture, because he had actually studied Chinese medicine as well. And he tried acupuncture, and even that didn't help. The reason why it didn't help was because this was an emotional issue playing out in his body as pain. So after working with him, he went home. It took him about an hour and a half before he got home. When he got home, he had to bend down to pick something up. When he got up, he would normally be in pain, and there was no pain in his knee. So he started bouncing up and down on his knees to test them out, and no pain. So he tried to think, well, what have I done different? And the only thing he'd done different was have a session with me. So he said, "Wow, Christine, this has happened." And he told me the whole story about how he had had this pain for 5 years, and nothing that he had tried to do could sort his pain out. So this was such an incredible breakthrough for him, and obviously on some level had healed his relationship with his daughter, so his healing could start to take place. He was so impressed by this session, he came on a workshop with me. And in fact, there was another doctor present, and the two of them were working together. And they was just so impressed and amazed with how body points would come up that would be part of a whole endocrine system and things like this, and just like all through muscle testing and dowsing. So yeah, they were really, really impressed with this. So that's the one story of giving you an example of the benefits that you can get from having a life alignment session. The other benefits that you can have are just moving beyond your limitations. You find an inner peace, move away from fear and self-sabotage patterns. Now, you can do this yourself if you want, in a way. You can help yourself daily by meditating, exercising, eating properly. Invest time in your personal growth, though, is one of the best things that you can do. Working with your emotional intelligence. And yeah, this is something that it's not just going to benefit you, but it's going to benefit your family, your friends, anyone that you interact with. And we're sending out that positive vibration out into the world. So remember that we are not islands unto ourselves. Everything is interconnected in the universe. So we're connected to absolutely everything. Your heart is one of the strongest vibrational organs in your body, and it's the first organ that's actually is formed in your body as well. So when we are coming back into connecting with our heart, we are going to be more likely to making the right decisions than when we are connecting with our brain, which sometimes lies to us. So we got to have some sort of coherence between our brain and our heart. And the only way we can do that is by working on it and working on those subconscious things that I was talking about in my first video. So another story I'm going to tell you that now comes from another subconscious place. Like the doctor, his came from a subconscious. His healing came from his subconscious. It wasn't from his conscious mind. So my story, about 5 or 6 years ago as well, funny enough, I had come out in a rash on my body. It started off by waking up in the morning feeling really anxious. And I said to my husband, I do not know why I'm feeling anxious because I've got absolutely nothing to be anxious about. Some weeks went past and then I started to develop a rash. It started off on my arms and then it went to my torso and to the tops of my legs. So my husband said, you must go and see the doctor. Oh, as I'm a healer, I won't go and see the doctor. My body will heal itself. But eventually it wasn't going away, and I wasn't actually doing much work on myself either, because being a healer, you work with everyone else and you leave yourself till last, just like the cabinet maker or the shoemaker. You know the story. So after I went to the doctor, 6,000 rand later, several doctors later, my rash didn't go away. So I'm starting to realize this is an emotional issue. But of course, life is busy, and I was one of those people that just put everything back on the back burner and I'm going to deal with it later. So I'm guilty of that as well. Yeah, so practice what you preach, but anyway, we don't always do that, do we? So anyway, luckily for me, Dr. Jeff Levine was doing a workshop in Durban and I was on that intensive workshop, and I said to him, please, Jeff, can you help me? Put me on the bed. Let's find out what the root cause of this problem is. So a word came up. Remember me telling you that we find words. A word came up and that word was survival. And he says, what does this mean for you? And I'm trying to think, what does it mean? And I'm going back to like long distant past, thinking it's something from the way past, maybe to do with financial stresses in the past or something like that, but it wasn't connected, he said. So then he gave me a time frame. He said, what happened 3 months ago? Wow. Well, what happened 3 months ago was I was in a near head-on car collision with my husband in the car. He fell asleep at the wheel. We had all fallen asleep after a nice big Christmas lunch, and my kids were in the back. My adult children were in the back with their partners. And so it was a shock for all of us because we were all asleep. We didn't see it happening. So being a mother, and mothers out there, you'll know that we learn how to stay calm in certain situations because we don't want to stress everyone else. So what do you do if your kid starts getting stressed? You calm down so that you can help to calm them down. Well, hopefully that's what you do. You start screaming and shouting and say, what have you done? How could you do this? How do you fall asleep at the wheel? What good is it going to do? So I internalized everything, and what happened was it was playing out in my body 3 months later. Now, of course, 3 months later, I'm not going to think about what happened 3 months ago. I don't associate it anymore. It's completely something I don't associate with because my mind has told me I've dealt with it. It's got nothing to do with anything that I'm experiencing now. But you see, your body carries memory. So that's what I'm saying. At a cellular level, your body carries the memory of that. Are you getting the picture? stories are very powerful and better than explaining what life alignment is all about, how we do it in a long-winded way. Stories are really powerful. You can get your imagination going on that and see how does that relate to you. So the next step is experiencing it for yourself. There is, I can talk until I'm blue in the face, but experiencing it yourself is the way to go. Now, I do long distance healing, and though you're not going to experience feeling the energy because you're not here, you get a chance to talk to me on Skype, you get a chance to still have the healing, understand how it works. You can go to links on my website, and you can start your own healing journey. So it's all about taking the first step. I do workshops as well, but you've got to be present for the workshops. We're not doing those long distance on Skype or anything like that at this moment in time, although we're planning on doing that in the future. And if you are in Durban, we have a manifestation workshop that starts on September the 8th. I'm doing it with Merle Westcott, who is another teacher. With our combined knowledge, we've got 37 years of experience. And I do have a workshop running in Durban on August the 24th, 26th, which is just around the corner. That's now 2018. So if you're watching this way down the line, you would have missed that anyway. But for any information on future workshops, please go to my website, www.christinehardylifealignment.co.za. I'm going to leave you with a quote. So it's going to give you food for thought about how are you going to take your first step, because if you don't change anything in your life, you keep on doing the same thing, you're going to keep on getting the same thing. So let's just listen to this. When you've done your part, it's time to release your work to the universe and let it do its part. The life you want is a manifestation of self-realization. And that's a quote by Byron McGill. So I'm going to leave you with this, and I hope that you will be seriously taking your first step to your own inner healing and personal development. Thank you.